Okay, it is my absolute truth, and I'm deadly serious with this, that every man on the planet could run a sub-3 hour marathon. And the women's equivalent of that is about 10 to 15% slower. So about 3:18 to 3:27. Now, I'm going to try to prove this to you, or try to put my case forward throughout this video. But on the screen in a second will be the times, the equivalent times for 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, and also the speed that you're running for those distances. So for a marathon, just under 3 hours, is 4:15 or 6:52 per mile. 4:15 per kilometer or 6:52 per mile. Half marathon, that would mean that you're around about 1:25 to 1 hour 27. And at the sharp end, at the 1 hour 25, that's 4:01 per kilometer, 6:25 per mile. For the 10K, if you're capable of a 3 hour marathon, that would mean you're able to run a 10K in about 38 minutes, which would be 3:48 per kilometer or 6 minutes and 7 for the mile. And then your 5K time, which is relevant to all of us, is 18 minutes 20, which is 3:40 per kilometer or 5:54 per mile. So not a great difference in pace. If you look at that, not a great difference in pace from 4:15 per kilometer and 6:52 to 3:40 per kilometer and 5:54 per mile for the 5K. Not a great difference in pace. Now that should give you a lot of optimism based on where you're at right now, based on what your current goals are for the shorter distances, the 5K and the 10K, or always rave about getting quicker first, building that raw speed, getting to a point where you can run a pretty fast 5K and 10K, and then moving up to half marathon, marathon, and then maybe beyond to ultra marathon. But if you get that speed in you, helps the rest of your running tenfold and teaches you to be a good athlete, to be a good trainer, which you're able to then to put the interval sessions into play to get the super compensation from them, build the endurance for the shorter distances, and then you understand the importance of endurance and how it leads into strength for the intervals and makes you a faster runner, and how those two feed into each other to make you a good 5K or 10K runner, and how then important it becomes once you go into the half marathon and marathon. So if you look at those times, and if you look at the typical London Marathon, Berlin Marathon, New York, we looked at them recently and saw that 0.6% of men are running sub 2:30. So at the sharp end, 0.6, less than 1% of men are running 2:30. But of those, 1 in 4 is running 10 minutes faster than that. So at the sharper end is running 10 minutes faster and doing under 2 hours 20. That's an interesting stat. And we're talking races that have got 40,000, 50,000 participants. So we're looking at 25 to 30,000 males in each one of those races. So I looked at that data. Is it shocking? I don't think so. I think, as I said at the start of the video, that people aim quite safe and they aim for round numbers. Now, I've just told you a round number. 3 hours is a round number. So I would never expect you to stop at 3 hours. I think we're capable of much more. But I think if you get towards 3 hours, and it's a good time for the marathon, you get towards 3 hours and you've learned how to train along the way. You've learned what the interval sessions do, the long run. You've learned about recovery, about easy runs, and why they're so important to take those slowly and put less effort into them so that you can really put the effort into the interval and long run, and how that compounds over time, how that makes you a much better athlete within a short space of time, like 13 weeks. Super important. But the way that you get towards that is starting with, okay, let's get myself, where is your starting point right now? If it's 25 minutes for the 5K, if it's 30 minutes for the 5K, it's a starting point. If you're currently cannot run for more than 5 minutes, that's your starting point. And you not only are you going to have a rapid progression curve, a steep progression curve, you're also going to get into that positive feedback loop. And the more that you do it, the better you get at it, and the more that you're kind of thinking, hopefully, what am I doing and how can I do it better? And then you're depositing on those reps on a daily or every other day basis. You're learning to be a better runner. And all of a sudden, that can very quickly turn you into a 25-minute 5K runner or a 20-minute 5K runner, which means that you're not too far away from that 18:20, which means that in the bigger picture, if it is a marathon or half marathon that you're aiming for, and 1:25 is a great half marathon time, it places you in the top sort of 100 to 200 in many races. many half marathon races, and then it starts to get a lot more fun because you're not just, at this point, at 18:20 or a 1:25 half marathon or a 3-hour marathon, you're not just trying to survive the course. You're not just going out there and running. You're starting to race, and you're starting to race with yourself, yeah, but you're starting to race with other groups and other people around you. And then, yeah, you might start, and a typical question on sub-marathon Facebook group, sub-3-hour marathon group, is how possible is it to run a sub-3 hour? How many people, or what percentage of the population can run a sub-3 hour marathon? For me, I think that every man can run a sub-3 hour marathon. And I think I'm gonna put my neck out and say that every woman has the potential, has the capacity to run 3 hours 18 or sub-3 hours 20 for the marathon. I really think that's true. And when you look, you started training, you started running, you started putting structure in place. When you look at all the areas that you can improve, and there might be 10 to 15 different areas, including, the training, your sleep, reduced stress, weight training, how that affects your stride length, then looking after your body with the right foods, hydration, the right fueling strategy within a race. Once you start to get the gains, and they 100% they compound. Bigger muscles, stronger stride length, great nutrition plan, less muscle fatigue and less muscle damage, so you can really push on the long runs, you can really push on the interval session. Once those things start to compound, then you're starting to look at a completely different athlete, and all of a sudden doors open. And not just doors in terms of how fast you can run, but your mind opens to what is possible. And then once that kind of opens, and you're open to going for it and potentially falling short, but never failing. Just falling short and aiming high but falling short, which is way better than aiming safe and hitting that target, that round number. So that's what I think. Sub-3 hour marathon is possible for every man on the planet, and sub-3 hours 18 for a woman. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think that that's possible? Do you think it takes time? I'm not saying it's an overnight thing. It might take you 12 weeks. It might take you 12 years. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below.